Hello and welcome. Thank you for watching section 6-7, Proportions and Equations. What we're going to do today is similar to what we have done when looking at function tables in our past chapter. Okay, we're looking at our ratio tables. It's very similar, but this time we're going to be writing equations. Okay, so our question says to write an equation to represent the function displayed in the table. Now within this table we have an input x and an output of y. Okay, so my input is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and my outputs correspond to the input. Okay, so we're going to create a table like this. It looks very similar to our function tables we've created before, and I'm going to fill in what is given. Okay, so my input of x is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I'm going to break this up here so I can see what corresponding y I get as my answer. Okay, so when I have an input of 1, my output is 16. When I have an input of 2, my output is 32. An input of 3, your output would be 48. An input of 4, your output would be 64. And an input of 5 would be an output of 80. Okay, so what you're trying to find is an equation that represents a situation. And what you're doing, and it's important that you write this down, you want to know what you are doing to the x to get the y. Okay, so what am I doing in this case? Let me see if I can move this up here. There we go. What am I doing to my 1 to get the 16? Okay, now because it's starting as a smaller number, I know I'm either adding or I'm multiplying. If you're going from a larger number to a smaller number, you'd be either subtracting or dividing. So I know that I'm either taking 1 and I'm adding 15 to it, which would give me 16, or I'm taking 1 and I'm multiplying it by 16 to get 16. Okay, it's one or the other. Now, in order to decide which one it is, you're going to look at the rest. So I have a 2 and I get 32. Can you take 2 plus 15 to get 32? No, you would get 17. So we know this can't work. So let's try our next option. Can we take 2 times 16 to get 32? And the answer is yes, you can. Okay, and because you get to use your calculators, these are going to be easy to decide and decipher. So I'm going to check the next one. So plug into your calculator. If I take 3 times 16, will it give me 48? Yes, it will. 4 times 16 will also give you 64, and 5 times 16 will give you 80. Okay, so you're going to write an equation. So because I'm writing an equation, I'm writing what I'm doing to the x, and the x was the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, so it's the 1 and the 2 here. And you're taking the x times 16, so 16 times x, or x times 16, is going to equal what? It's going to equal 16, 32, 48, 64, and 80, meaning it's going to equal the y value. Okay, because you're writing an equation, it must look like an equation. Remember, an equation has an equal sign, okay, and it should have the letter x and the letter y within the number if I'm writing an equation from a table. Okay, so once again, you're deciding what are you doing to the x. I'm taking 16 times x to get the y, which will equal the y value. Okay, so I'm taking 16 times 1, I'm taking 16 times 2, 16 times 3, 16 times 4, and 16 times 5. Okay, and all of those are giving me my y value. So my y value is 16, 32, 48, 64, and 80. Okay, so we're going to look at the next one, and once again I want to create a table. Okay, your table just gives you a better view of what's happening. So within the first column, this is my x values, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm trying to figure out my equation, and these are my y values, my outputs, which are 9, 18, 27, 36, and 45. And once again, I'm just going to separate those so it's easier for me to see. Okay, so my equation, once again, this comes back to what we have, oops, wrong way, written here. What are you doing to the x to get the y? That's what I'm trying to decide. So, because I'm starting with a smaller number and it's getting bigger, I know I'm either adding or multiplying. So if I take 1, I'm adding 8 to it to get 9. Or I'm taking 1 times 8, times 9 to get 9. Okay, and these are the numbers here I'm making up according to my sequence, okay? So once again, you're in check. Am I taking 2 plus 9 to get 18? No, because that would only be 11. So that's not going to work, so I'm going to get that out of there. Am I taking 2 times 9 to get 18? And the answer is yes. So we're going to check it. Oops, not 2. 1 times 9 would give me 18. 3 times 9 we know is 27. 4, you don't have to use a parentheses, you could put times 9 is 36. And 5 times 9 is 45. Okay, so your equation, once again, will have to do with my x values. What am I doing to these x values? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to get my y values here. And I'm taking x times 9. So you can write it like that, or the more proper way, and the way that I would always write it, is 9x. So 9 times x is going to equal what? It's going to equal your y value here. Oops. And I put 18 there on accident. That should be a 9. So once again, these are my y values, so it's going to equal y. And the number that stays the same that I'm using every single time is what I'm going to be doing, okay, the 9 to my x value to get my y value. Okay? And the last one's a little bit more complicated because it's a word problem. It says Javier sells handmade notebooks. He charges $25 for each book. Make a table to show the relationship between the number of books sold, B, and the total amount Javier earns, T. So I'm going to make a table first of all, just like I've been doing. Unless my pen won't work. Here we go. Okay, except this time it's not going to be X and Y, it's going to be the letters B and T. So it says, make a table to show the relationship between the number of books sold, B, and the total amount Javier earns, T. So you want to know what we're doing to the number of books sold to get the total amount earned. So I'm going to look back at the top. It says Javier sells handmade notebooks. He charges $25 for each book. Well, B represents the books. So if I sell 1 book, 2 books, and 3 books. So if I sell 1 book, he's going to get how much money? $25. If I sell 2 books, you're going to get $50. If I sell 3 books, you're going to get $75. Okay, because you're going to add $25 for each book. Another way to think of it is I'm taking 1 times the number of books sold times $25. So 1 times 25 is $25. 2 times 25 is $50. 3 times 25 is $75. So you're taking B, and B once again is 1, 2, and 3. And you're multiplying B times 25. And when I take 25 times B, the number of books, you're going to get T, the total. Okay? So it says write an equation to find the total amount earned, T, for selling B books. Well, we just did that. We found a relationship within our table here. We know we're taking 25 times B, the number of books, to give you T, the total amount. Okay? And the B and the T are coming from my original problem. How much will Javier earn if you sell 7 books? Well, 7 is the number of books. So I'm going to take 25 times 7. Okay, and you can use your calculator or you can do this in your head. It's up to you. 25 times 7 is 175. Okay, so how much will Javier earn if he sells 7 books? He will earn $175. Okay, and that's it. That's all we have to do. Okay, so once again, if this is getting confusing to you, you need to rewatch it Okay, and if it still doesn't make sense, you're going to ask Mr. Kohlinger or myself tomorrow for a little extra help on this. Okay, once again, this is input-output tables that we have done prior to this section, but this time we're trying to find an equation that we can write about our input value and our output value. Okay, thanks for watching.